series with Nick and myself, JP. We actually made it big this time because we're actually now on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So we converted the whole webinar into a podcast, which is exciting. But Nick, it's good to see you. How are you?
Hey, JP, good to see you too. Glad we could do this again.
Yes. Tell us, where are you right now?
I am right now. I'm still in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam. My mother spends every summer here. My parents are Dutch. I'm also Dutch, and so come back here to say hello to family and friends, and then go back to the States.
That's awesome. Yeah, I just got back myself. We took a little one to Germany to meet the parent or the grandparents and the other family there, so which was very exciting.
First
Um,
trip for your kid?
First trip to Europe for him, but yes, he's a
Yeah,
international traveler. He already has been around, but yeah, it was great. We had a great time, but we're excited to be back and we're excited to be doing
nice.
this. Um, we made some upgrades. We're getting along with the headquarters, so I'm excited to do that, and we're still improving. But let's dive into the meat. We have some really good stuff on the agenda for this time. Um, I'm going to kick it off this time. OpenAI agent, big announcement. Instead of just using ChatGPT, they recently announced that they're going to have an agent now that basically can do tasks for you in your browser. So instead of saying research X, Y, and Z, you can actually say like, go book me this table or go book me this flight, and it will go ahead and it will spin up kind of like a browser within your browser, and it will kind of book the flight for you, which is really cool. Is you are already logged in your browser with all your credentials basically, and so it's authenticated with like Expedia or your American Airlines account. And so what's neat is in the browser you can actually just like do it without having to go through the hassle of like having a bunch of desktop apps. And so I think a bunch of other players in the space now are kind of catching on to it as well, that like kind of the browser becomes like the new OS of the AI world, which is very, very interesting because it's kind of like a pivot of what we've been doing before. But what do you think of it, Nick? What have you seen so far?
Yeah, there's so many different interesting things that are happening here. One is OpenAI with their agent and bringing that out, and then the competitors, Perplexity, as well as Claude and others, figuring out ways to also have their LLM interact and be in sort of always present in our lives, and
Yes.
so. Yeah, and so you see with OpenAI this agent being connected to everything, and then opening a browser and actually sort of clicking around and adding information. Claude does it a little differently. Claude has it so that you can actually connect your tools into the Claude Anthropic chat, and then you can have it do various functions, and it'll do it on the back end, but you won't see it. So interesting, different sort of scenarios and ways to handle that.
It is. I think it's really interesting. I'm interested to see what OpenAI does next. I've heard that they're building a browser apparently now.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, like the two major players in this space are truly just Google Chrome and Safari with Apple, basically. So it's going to be interesting because they have the distribution. But there's a new company on the market called the Browser Company, and they've just released a new browser that I've been using, and they have AI built in basically. And it's actually available already for most people, while a bunch of other stuff is still on the wait list. Like ChatGPT, for example, the agent is only available for pro users, and they start rolling it out more to others. But there's a company called the Browser Company. They have a product called Dia. I'm going to show it real quick on my screen here. So what's really cool with Dia is the AI is literally built into the sidebar, and you can just kind of like say like, go use this tab, and it will read the information from your tabs, and it can actually use the context from everything that you've opened, and you can ask questions. And what's really cool is you can have like 3, 4, 5 tabs kind of like tagged within the context, so to say, and you can kind of combine it all together, and you can ask questions around like, hey, go look at my calendar and then go write this email on when we should meet for this new client, which I think is really cool. And they've done a bunch of like personalization and learning where you can actually have like certain controls around like what format do you like, how short or how lengthy the answer should be. And so right now you can even like, do the shopping with here. You can ask it like certain questions, or you can ask stuff around like, can you find the price somewhere else, which is really cool and just a really neat experience. And they're trying to like break into like this big browser market because I think they realize the same thing, like the browser is kind of like the future.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I think Dia is really interesting. I'm glad that that's already sort of launched and we can use that. Perplexity is coming out with a browser, already has come out with a browser called Comet, and
Yes.
that is also only available right now for the higher end, the top tiers. But they're sort of bringing that out as much as possible. So yeah, this is definitely the next phase in browsing the internet and bringing AI to make it more enhanced in every single way. Posting, connecting with certain people on LinkedIn, even giving a synopsis of all the tabs and pulling that information. We're just going to see this really blow out in the next 6 months or so to see what the possibilities are here.
Yes, and I think what's also interesting is, I mean, this is kind of like, I mean, back in the days, what we did is we scraped kind of like the internet, right? We kind of automated some tasks and said like, go to this, do this. With this, you don't have the problem of getting blocked by all these websites basically because it's just using your browser. So like you
Mm-hmm.
actually act like a human browsing the web, and it can do things for you that are pretty amazing. Like you would kind of like say, I'm looking for a new sweater, like go look at my favorite sweaters, or like the shops I look at and like tell me what all the new releases are. Can draft emails, shopping. So it's kind of like the same, everybody's kind of like focusing on the same things around like shopping and traveling and um, you know, becoming more productive with email. But yeah, this is exciting. I almost signed up for the $300 plan just to sign up for it, but I stay patient. So I'm hoping that they're going to roll it out to the pro users pretty soon here as well for Comet. I'm really excited to test that browser. I heard like really good things about it.
Yeah, very excited about this. I think this is the next step. I do think that this is a phase or a transition towards sort of an end all be all browser that will bring it all together. That will have a lot of it be more as a chat function and still
Yeah.
have visualizations. But right now, this middle phase is it really looks like okay, it's the browser on the left and a chat sort of a chat with AI on the right. In the future, that'll be seamless and that'll sort of be connected. What that'll look like, we don't know yet.
Yes, for sure. One player that's been out there for a while has an agent and is called a company called Manus, and so they're very active right now, saying like, "Hey, we can do this thing already better." So I pulled up like a Manus example here. Manus is basically a subscription for agents, and they say like, "Hey, we can do this for a while now. What you guys are releasing is kind of boring." So obviously they're trying to defend their market position here. But I pulled up an example of like go plan a Palm Springs tennis trip itinerary planner, like a 3 day. And so I'm gonna just like replay this, but it kind of goes through and does all the research for you. So you can see on the right side, it will basically browse the web. It will start taking some notes. It will see what's around it. It will go check for flights. And it's just so much faster, right? And so when we just kind of like skip to the result, what it produces is it produces kind of like this graphic, and it will say like, hey, your total budget for this is X, Y, and Z. Here are all the activities you can do. Here's what the flights are, like San Francisco to Palm Springs. You can check in at this resort. There is a tournament here. And at night, you can kind of like go out, hang out here because let's say you're vegan, you have a preference here. So like we recommend this. And it will even put together like the budgets you need for this trip. And it's fully planned out, which is pretty crazy. But they're saying we're already doing this. And so it's some of it I feel like it feels a little bit gimmicky because I feel like people will still kind of like do their own research, but once this is getting a little bit more personalized, I think this is going to be huge, and it's just going to like make things so much more efficient. Have you played with Manus at all?
I have played with Menace a little bit, not necessarily for creating something like this. I think one example that I thought was interesting was that I saw was somebody saying, "Oh, we're going to DC. These are the top things we want to go to. What's the best sort of way in Google Maps to handle that?" I thought
Yeah.
that was a good example of adding in oh, hey, by the way, I know you love coffee. You should check out this cafe on the way. And so it added various things like that that was interesting. It looked into my soul a little bit.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, and especially once you connect your stuff, right? I mean, these things are going to just become like, I don't know. I think privacy is like an interesting topic here. Like, imagine you just like connect your Gmail and you connect like, I don't know, whatever preferences you have, and it kind of like knows what you like. And like based on that data, it will then like say, oh, like JP has been going through like these types of restaurants. Like I'm gonna be recommending these types of restaurants as well, which I think then it really becomes powerful. But the question really becomes like, are you basically just gonna like give your whole life to this AI so it actually
Yeah,
understands and becomes useful?
yeah. Recently, I did ask ChatGPT. I was with some friends from Australia. In Australia, they call it Chatty, by the way.
Okay,
And
chatty, interesting.
so, yeah, so we all asked Chatty to describe us from our prompts, and I highly recommend it. It brings up some interesting things.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, yesterday I was looking for a flight to Orlando and I was like, you know what? Like, let me just try this. I'm gonna start diving into like this first AI experience. I was like, go find me the best flight for like LAX to I think Orlando it was. And it like went through all the different sites, all the different airlines, and basically told me like the cheapest one is like go with Spirit or Frontier Airlines, but like I would recommend like a more sophisticated airline like American Airlines or Delta, and
Yeah.
you pay like $10 more. And here's what's included, and here's a link to book it. Um, and at first I was like skeptic because the flight was like $99. I'm like, oh, this is absolutely incorrect. Like, there's no way this is correct, right? And sure enough, I look it up. It's $99. I'm like, I didn't expect this, but yeah, instead of like going to do the search myself, I literally just like clicked on a link and could have booked the trip. And like, if I know had an agent, I would just do this. I'm like, you know what, like
Yeah.
just do this. And I would probably say like when I give it the preferences, I'll be like, I prefer, let's say, economy, but I always want to have like a carry on because sometimes like the cheapest ones they don't even have a carry on anymore these days. So I was like, at least
Mm.
do a carry on. I wouldn't pick my seat and then just book that option, and then I would fully trust it to do it. And like it just saves me a ton of time instead of like going there and comparing all these sites basically.
Yeah, yeah. And if we, every time we're choosing aisle or window, and every time we're doing things that it should remember,
Yeah,
but it doesn't, and AI will. So
it will. It will.
that'll make it easier. Yeah.
I know they get smarter and smarter. Talking about smarter, you had, I think you wanted to talk about like some demos for the OpenAI agent that you kind of have prepared, right?
Yeah. Let me show those.
Let's do
So
that.
these were here. Let me share my screen. Okay. So this is exactly what you were sharing earlier, where this specifically was an example of somebody ordering a roast dinner with using the agent. And so it just started by typing in exactly what they were looking for, and here are all the steps of the agent actually ordering and checking out and having the food delivered to the correct place. That
So if you're just
was
if you're just listening right now, I'm just going to repeat it real quick. But if you're just listening right now, basically what you can see is like I want to have a roast dinner, and it will know basically what the rest like what ingredients you need.
yeah.
It will basically go to a store like Instacart. It will put in all the groceries and it will say like, all right, check out, let's deliver it, and you're done. Like, don't worry about like anything else anymore. Just like get it done.
Yeah. For two people, it knows exactly what to order, and it does it, and it'll come to your doorstep only a little bit later. So with that, you just have to write, and the prompt was, as you saw, a sentence,
Yes.
not even much longer. So it's just so much easier than doing anything else in terms of here is a roast dinner as an example. But if you're thinking about other workflows or other processes, something like that could be really interesting. Another example that I thought was really interesting here, and we're just going to go a little bit forward here, with if you since you're on your own browser and you have access to your business information,
Hmm.
you have access to customer support, customer feedback, all of that. You can actually have it review certain users, certain clients, and see sort of what are the gaps, what are the top product features that you may want to implement, and just give you much more insight in terms of what you're seeing with the recurring feedback that you may be getting from clients, which was another interesting one.
Which is amazing, right? Think about you run a company, right? All of us run companies. You have obviously people calling in all the time, asking questions, whatever it might be. You should just record these conversations. You should make sure these are recorded, not just for obviously for quality purpose, but like if you just feed those conversations, like just have like a basic Zapier integration that says like, hey, go fetch this recording and give it to my ChatGPT knowledge, or just like connect whatever tool you're using. Let's say you use Firefly or Fathom, and you give like OpenAI access to that. This is like the powerful piece. Like this is where like you would never do this work if you wouldn't have AI. And I think that's where it really unlocks, because the information is there. It's just hard to process sometimes. And it's not really worth it skimming through hours of phone calls. But if you have an AI that's kind of do it in the background, might as well. Like there is so much valuable information of like the same questions that might be asked, and you can cut down on customer support by like just asking the like by resolving this one simple task. So I think that's like the action item here, or that I would call out is like, think about if you run a business, like how can you use all the information you get from your customers, and how can you analyze it using tools like this, for example, and then make an actionable plan. Actually, you don't have to not even think about it much, right? Just like go tell me what my main problems are, and then go make a suggestion how I can fix them, and then you can still evaluate and kind of go from there. But that's the huge thing for me, in my opinion.
Yeah, totally. What's interesting then is, of course, even because it is ChatGPT, you can create a custom GPT. You can have
Yes,
it be very tailored to the analysis or information that you want it to pull, and then you can have it, spit it out in an output that looks exactly like you want it to show up as well. Really, really cool. Another one that I thought was really interesting, because I do love spreadsheets, is you can attach a spreadsheet from with 2024 earnings, and it will add information, pull information from that, and do various calculations and create a new spreadsheet with all of the information that you're looking for, the questions that you have. So yeah, it can manipulate, it can pull data, it can manipulate data, and it can actually create something that you're looking for. So it's really interesting.
that's amazing. I'm pumped. I'm excited to use it. So hopefully they're gonna release it to rest soon. But I know these features kind of trickle through slowly. But I mean, endless opportunities here. Like if you have like
Yeah.
a year of accounting, you want to kind of figure out like where does my spending go year over year, or like how does it change, for example? Where do you see exceptions? Where do you see trends going? And then, figure out like maybe the price of lumber is going up or whatever it might be, right? And you can identify like those types of things super easily. Yeah, I love that example.
Yeah. Yeah, and Perplexity, this is the Comet version with the assisted being on the side. This is that example of, okay, walking through DC. I want to start at the White House. Where do I go? And then having it create a nice travel plan for you. Perplexity also is going into a direction of being able to pull a lot of financials
Yes.
for companies, and doing a lot of deep research on that and analysis on that, which is also a very interesting world to sort of explore.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've listened to another podcast that's super popular, which is the All In Pod. I think most of you guys know it, but they were just talking about the same thing basically, where Perplexity kind of becomes like the Bloomberg terminal replacement, because it's so good at analyzing financial data. It pulls in SEC filings, S1s, and all that kind of stuff, where you just get a bunch of like really good information. You actually know how that company makes money, and you can just ask questions like, what's their profit margin, and like what's their cost of goods and stuff like that, and it will just pull it all out. It's insane.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you also connect your email, you can unsubscribe to marketing emails. You can have it analyze all your emails. It can create drafts for you. It can do a lot of different things. It's sky's the limit.
I love that. I love that. Well, we talked about these things just getting smarter and smarter. I think one big news this week, that just happened a couple days ago, was basically Elon Musk. He is kind of pushing ahead with XAI. Some people, it's known as a Grok, basically, which is like another competitor to ChatGPT and Claude. So you can kind of see there are so many tools coming out, and everybody wants to be a player in the space. But I think what's different and what's kind of stood out to me is that they started so much later in the game. Like they started, I think, only a couple of years ago. And the latest model that they've released, it's called Grok 4, basically. And they also have Grok 4 Heavy. But they're getting to the point now where there's not enough problems to solve anymore for humans. They've basically almost solved all of them. So they're like, what is the next step from here? Like, can we actually go into solving things that we cannot solve as humans as of today, for example? And so it's really interesting to see how they've been pushing forward. And what's also cool to see is a new trend, I think, which is kind of like the companion. So I think there have been a bunch of studies out now where, I think especially Gen Z and millennials are using these chat interfaces, so to say, as kind of like their new friends. I don't know how healthy that is necessarily, but I think the companion thing becomes a huge thing, basically, where you kind of create like a digital identity of yourself, or like a digital friend, whatever you want to call it, an agent. I think the agent piece is going to be huge, but you're going to customize that agent. So it becomes almost like a character. I know there's a bunch of companies out there now trying to create like gaming characters, and they're like integrate into the AI, and they're more personalized. So have you had a chance to play around with Grok at all, the Grok 4 version?
Yeah, I played around with it. I think it's interesting. Grok 4 does seem when I'm playing around with the different LLMs these days, it's it's hard to see huge differences when you give the same prompt and try to see the difference in each
Yeah.
one. They're all extremely good, and the upgrades that we're getting, I think, are we're going to continue to get those, but there's still a bit of an artificial part to it that still feels like it's not a human, but
Yes.
otherwise it's incredible information. And Grok 4, yeah, as you're saying, it's smarter than most PhDs,
Yes.
most PhD students, and so there's a level there of just surpassing so much.
Yes.
I think what you said about the health implications with the companion thing, I do want to mention that we do need to, what we're going to be seeing, I think, is this direction of people using these companions, and a lot of that's going to be incredible, sort of, let's say, low level therapy.
Yeah.
In terms of, you can reach out to it whenever you want, you can get feedback, you can sort of probe and better understand yourself.
Yeah.
But you're also going to lose a lot of human interaction
Yes.
if we sort of expand that more. And so it's important to keep that in mind as this happens. I think, as we all know with ChatGPT, every time we send a prompt, it says, "Oh, great question," and I'm like, "Wow, thanks, ChatGPT. I feel great." And so it makes us feel really good. And I think that people are going to have a harder time dealing with conflict or challenges or issues that come up with humans.
Yeah.
And that's something to keep in mind.
I think the funny ones are the memes that I see around when, you use ChatGPT for everything. And like in a few years from now, you're like just sitting behind your computer, you're like, respond to this email, in your head is like, yes, good. And then like ChatGPT comes up with the rest of the actual, like, oh, this sounds amazing. Thank you so much for pointing this out. And like in your head, you're just like getting a little bit more, stupider. You're like, yes,
Yeah,
good. Sent.
right, right, exactly. We're going back to caveman days
Yeah, you're
in
like
many
when I
ways.
express your love to somebody, you're like, I love you, marry
Yeah.
me.
I'm losing all the
ChatGPT
words.
translate into better.
Right, exactly, exactly. That's
Oh
it.
my god. No, but I think from the expert level, which is interesting, especially on Grok 4, there is something called the Humanity Last Exam, basically. Um, and they were able to reach kind of like a very new level. I think humans were only able to solve like 5% of the questions. So like that the
Yeah.
smartest humans on Earth are like at 5%. and they were able to reach 38%. And then there's a Grok 4 heavy version, which is again just like more compute intensive, 44%, which is insane. So we're getting to that level where we really solve all the problems. But I do agree with you. I think for most what we do, they're pretty much all the same. I would
Yeah.
say that like there's obviously a couple ones like, Anthropic's Claude is just like, for me personally as a developer, the best coder out there. If I want to write code, I use Anthropic. It's just always solid. Um, but at the end of the day, they're as you said, I fully agree with you, where they're pretty much on par, and every time they will have a release, they kind of get ahead of it. But again, I think the timeline that XAI has been doing has been phenomenal,
Mm.
because they've been kind of like 5, 8, 10 years behind everybody, and they're now catching up our head, which is again just typical Elon. He somehow gets it done. I don't know how. Think whatever you
Yeah.
want about him, but somehow he always pulls it off. It's insane.
He definitely does. Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
it's very interesting to see also where that will go in the future with
Yes.
Grok, but also just with all the data of X and all the
Yes.
information from X. It's as Elon says, it's very much a sort of town square of
Yes.
a lot of information, and so that's great data for Grok.
Love that. I think what's interesting is the energy discussion that comes up because of
Yeah,
electricity, because they're creating data centers. I think OpenAI just announced, like, I think this morning even, that they're building a data center with Oracle in Texas, which 1.2 gigawatts, I think $5 billion of US investment. And everybody is doing this. So you have OpenAI doing it, you have XAI doing it, you have
Met.
Meta like Facebook doing it, and they're all building these like massive data centers. And we're not talking about like, a house. We're talking about like the size of Manhattan that they're building to train these things. And I think sometimes if you take a step back and you're like, oh my God, like these like warehouses are absolutely insane. Like there are
Mm-hmm,
whole cities where these
mm-hmm.
systems run in, and it's absolutely insane what's being built right now.
What I think is really interesting here is, yeah, I mean the amount of data, the amount of energy that we're going to be using in the next few years is crazy.
Yes.
Yeah, the data center that Meta is creating is going to be the size of Manhattan,
It's crazy.
which is
just
huge.
just putting
Is
that in
absolutely
perspective,
huge.
like just put it on a
Yeah.
map and you'll be like, oh my God, like imagine you work there and like you're like, oh, can you come over here? It's like, oh yeah, let me grab my scooter. I'll be there in 20 minutes.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Oh, I need to take the subway, which
Yeah.
would then take 30 minutes to get to the top of Manhattan.
It's
So
crazy.
it's crazy. It's really, really big. What I think is fascinating is what we are seeing with AI are more uh, new materials. So with AI, scientists and researchers are also finding out new materials that can be created to capture carbon
Mm,
or to make things more energy efficient, even in a data center. Different sort of materials to use in the cables, let's say, and
yeah.
various other ways. And not only that, but we're also seeing an increase in patents for those new materials. So we're going to be seeing really interesting things, I think, happening only a year or two out of new materials that will hopefully also sort of mitigate some of that energy. Now, of course, the the energy the size of Manhattan is a lot.
Yeah.
I do still think that there are going to be a lot of positive things that are going to come out of AI as well.
That's awesome. I got to find somebody on network that can talk about this a little more because I would love to nerd out. But
Mm.
um, let's go on the agenda before we kind of like get lost in
Sounds
the
good.
in the in the solo world here. um, One thing that I've been helping with actually is a consulting client of mine, Vibey member actually, who's in the network, and so they've had this problem of Facebook leads coming in, and they basically are not really ready to purchase yet. And so to kind of keep it high level, 8 out of 10 leads are kind of like people that are like interested, but they're not ready yet. And so the person that kind of calls them kind of like wastes a lot of time because they have to keep calling this person. They have to vet them and get more information because obviously in the ad space, you want to keep it quick. You don't want to ask a bunch of information because you just lose the person. So you basically just ask for an email and then you kind of vet the lead and you go from there. And so we've talked about N8N at one point. We've talked about like automations and how to build them. What I can do real quick is I'm going to just go over this. We kind of help them make it a lot easier. And so basically, what we've built is a workflow that takes in the Facebook lead, sends them the email message automatically asking more questions, and it will then keep a track of it in a spreadsheet. And then if the person does not respond on the email, then we'll send a text message so that we can also, just maybe get attention on the text message side. And if that doesn't work, then the person can still call and, get the lead, basically some more information, because sometimes a human touch is still needed, right? But what's interesting from there, it's not just like the first thing that's happening, it's the response that's coming in from the customer, reading the information. And from there, we basically use, again, like an LLM like ChatGPT to understand the response. And from there, guide them into like the next message, basically. And so what that looks like is, I can show that real quick. We have, this is kind of like the workflow. So right now this says manually, but think about this as being like a Facebook ad. We then send an email message that basically says, hey there, thank you for your interest. We're excited to learn more about your project. To start, can you please tell me, and then actually let me expand this. What are you doing? This is a new gym, and we're looking forward to hearing from you, basically. And then it stores that information in a spreadsheet. And then every 48 hours, every 24 hours, we actually check like, hey, did this person respond? We kind of check in the Excel spreadsheet and then send the follow-up with Twilio, which is basically just an SMS text provider. And then we have another trigger that says, hey, go check this inbox from this account and then find all of the messages that we have. So it gets kind of like the whole flow of the emails. And it will then ask the LLM to basically evaluate what the response should be. And then based on the response, we're sending another follow-up message, or we're just capturing the lead as like, hey, they're not ready yet. So we're just going to send a message like, sounds like you're still looking at evaluating some other options. Like, we'll circle back with you in like 3 months. And then here's kind of like the prompt that I've been writing around, like, determine whether the lead is actually ready to move forward or just looking for more information, biggest indicator, like what to look for, and then determine based on the data whether we should move forward with a team or whether we should kind of like stamp them in the CRM as like, go circle back in like 4 weeks. And I think what I want to point out here again is I didn't write any code here. So like, this is something that now I can create a guide for, and they can, going forward, if they teach their staff, basically, they can make changes. So if they want to change the copy of the email, go ahead. Like, they can just type that. If they want to define the prompt a little bit and make it better, go ahead. You can do this. And I think this is, again, the power of N8N, which is really cool. And some of these AI toolings, like, you don't need a lot of like software engineering knowledge. You're like, this is something, when you train your staff correctly, that you can now become a lot more efficient, and you'd have to rely less on freelancers and consultants, basically, to kind of accomplish these tasks and to build these automations.
Yeah, that looks really cool. And so is it live yet for the client?
It's not live yet. We're working on it. We have actually a session end of this
Cool.
week to kind of discuss everything. Man, I'm telling you, getting a Facebook app approved is a pain in the, it's absolutely insane,
Mhm.
the steps you have to go through. It's quite a hurdle to get that approved nowadays. But yes, we're testing it, and then we're going live soon with this, and we'll see how it works. So I'll give an update in the next episode, hopefully. But
Nice.
it's one of those processes where, like, I think we have to think about like how we ramp up the people that work at the companies, basically. Like, how can I make them think more AI first? How can I ramp them up onto these tools? Because we got to create some sort of expectation that everybody kind of gets like 10-20% more efficient, because this will just be the new norm. This is almost like learning Excel. So I've been wrapping my head around like, how can we make these tools more accessible? Like, how can we distribute the knowledge? Because I know it's overwhelming, but you just got to start somewhere, and you just got to like start digging into it. And it becomes like such an unlock once you like have the base foundation of like how these things work.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Yeah, and if anybody in the Get Vibey community, if you want to chat about this, both I know JP and I are available if you want to chat to discuss AI, automation, N8N specific tools that you're seeing.
Yes.
Happy to discuss those things.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's the plug here. If you're not a Get Vibey member, go check us out at getvibey.com. But that's the benefit of being part of the community. You actually get access to people like Nick and I. You get to just talk with us, chat with us. I know we have some in-person events. Nick, you haven't had a chance to join one yet, but I really want to make sure you come to one of those events that we're hosting. And you just get a chance to talk to us. And that's the huge part of community. We just talked about like the in-person feeling it can't go away, right? And so I think that's where we're creating this bridge. We want to be basically in person, don't lose that human connection, talk about the problems, because it's just very different in person than always just being over Zoom, for example. And you kind of get access to knowledge. So if you haven't checked it out yet, go check out getvibey.com. And while you get access to this podcast on Spotify, you get access to experts like Nick to ask questions and dive deeper.
Yeah, totally.
Awesome.
Nice. It sounds like a really cool project.
Yes, it's always fun. I think there is going to be a lot more coming. I've actually been working on. We needed a phone number, right? So like at Vibey, we just kind of got started. We need a phone number. I hate posting personal phone numbers. I just don't want to have like a Google Voice phone number. So I've been kind of like dabbling with something that is an AI agent that just picks up the phone and asks the question and just like forwards the phone call basically. But I can the best way or the best thing about it is like I can be like, are you spam? Are you trying to sell me something? If so, just go straight to voicemail. But if you're
Yeah.
actually somebody who has a real question, then like go forward the call. And starting just there is like so easy, and like it's just like so helpful to have that in place, because now I can just post a phone number on Google or like on all these profiles. I don't have to worry about like all of a sudden call like 50,000 people calling me, selling
Yeah.
me X, Y, and Z, right? And
Yeah.
so that's kind of like something I've been dabbling with, and so maybe I can show that next time as we demo that and kind of see how that works. I think that would be a really cool demo as well.
Yeah, definitely do. What's cool about that is also, if you have a trade, or if you're real estate, or if you're a plumber or so, you're
Yes.
busy a lot of the day, and so you don't have time to pick up the phone. But
Yes.
if you miss that phone call, then you may miss that lead, or you may miss that client, and so it's important to have another way out to answer
Yes.
questions. Not only just have them leave a voicemail. That's so 2000s.
Yes.
We can do it in different ways now.
And they just move on, right? They if they look around, if they shop around and they go call like 4 or 5, like I don't know, plumbers or whatever. If the first two don't respond, the third one has the perfect offer, they just move on. Like you lost
Yep.
in that lead. So
Yep.
I totally hear you having that ability, and like, but also having an ability of like knowing when it's actually important is just like so nice. I talked to somebody who owns a business. He's like, man, whenever I pick up the phone call and I have time, it's somebody trying to sell me an insurance. But then every single time I don't pick up the phone and I'm on a job, it's like somebody actually inquiring about a project, and I'm like, oh my god, yes, I can
Yeah.
only imagine how frustrating that is.
Yeah.
Um,
And this is something that we can solve for now. We don't need to do
yes,
this anymore. We don't have to worry
yeah.
about it anymore, which is great.
I just hope that
Yeah.
not all of the agents start calling and you have like a hotline of like 50,000 people trying to call you. Let's hope we don't get there.
Yeah.
Um,
And then we'll have our own agent to filter, and it'll just be
yes,
agents talking to
we just got
agents.
agents talking. We just got agents
Yeah.
talking. It's like when you join a Google Meet or like a Zoom these days, you have like just 15 agents sitting on the Zoom call, like taking notes for
Yeah.
everybody. And like,
So many note takers out there. So
oh
many
my
note
God,
taker agents. That's
it's
true.
crazy. Cool. You had
All right.
one more topic, right? Let's talk about, let's dive
Yeah.
into your last topic here.
I wanted to chat a little bit about vibe coding. This
Oh
is
my God,
a
yes.
phrase that has been coming up a lot in AI in general recently, and this is recently. I guess it's already been going around. I think for a year, maybe year and a half.
Yes.
Um, and there are a lot of tools out there that where you can essentially create websites by just prompting. So just like how
Yes.
you prompt in ChatGPT and get an answer, you can prompt create a website, and it can create a website for you. There are various websites that do this, various tools, Lovable, Cursor, Replit, Windsurf, various others, and they all look a little different, feel a little different. What's really interesting though is that for all of them, they're very much low code, maybe some no code, maybe some low code. If you know how to develop, then you can sort of go into there, into the back end, the scaffolding, and fix things or change things.
Yeah.
But it can really make it easier, and it will make it easier in the future for anybody to create a landing page, to create even an app.
Yes.
And so you will be able to spin off your own custom app for whatever you want. If that is, if you don't really like an app out there that where you save your recipes that you want to cook with, you can create a personal quick app that saves all your recipes.
Yes.
And this will be the future for many personally, but also professionally. So just wanted to share that. I wanted to share their websites as well. Let me share my screen
That's
and
good.
go
I think,
through a little bit.
yeah, I
Yeah.
just talked to somebody who is historically from the banking industry
Hmm.
or financial industry. He has been working in finances. He works in that field purely. He has no software experience. Um, and he went to Lovable and he created a website for his business without any coding experience. And um, it was pretty cool to see. And he had a couple questions, like one or two that were able to answer for him. And he kind of like went around it, but like he built it fully by himself in like a week or two. And so that was pretty amazing to see that you can just kind of do these things now.
Yeah, it's really fascinating. And I've been using Lovable a good amount. I think what works well for and what the Get Vibey community, but also others, I think the vibe coding is great for landing pages, can also be great for your own website. It can also be great for updates to your website. And
Yes.
so you can also, with all of these, you can connect it to your GitHub, which is where most of the code lives, and you can actually update and edit the code as well. So, and then also, I think Lovable and others are really good for prototyping. So this is creating an MVP, a proof of concept, really boiling it down to the things that you want to show to the client, and then test that out, and then you can just iterate and change. There are a few things, a few tips that I wanted to share. One thing, security is very important. So these are things to think about before even jumping in and writing a prompt and doing the vibe coding. If you if you do need to take a second beforehand to think through if you're going to give it access to information, what that information is. So recently, actually, Replit, there was a user that had created an app in Replit, and it went through and without anybody asking, deleted the entire database
Oh
of
my God.
users for the customer. It was, I think, 500 users, all the
Oh
data,
my God.
everything. And then the AI was also saying that it hadn't done it and that it was not actually that it hadn't done anything wrong. So security is number one. Now, what that means for most people is you can still go in and test it out and try things. Just don't connect anything on the back
Yeah.
end, and you're going to be totally fine. So security is one.
I think,
Another
sorry,
thing. Oh
just to
yeah, go
interrupt
for
you.
it.
I think also they have like all these tools have been actually like working on detecting like these types of things because
Yeah,
if you have no idea, you don't have know what to look for.
yeah,
And so what some of these tools have been developing now is like, let's say you need a API key for OpenAI, they will tell you like, do not insert that here, go insert it over here, and
yeah.
they actually detect those problems because a lot of people were leaking like those types of information, and then you get billed for usage somewhere else, and so there's a couple of problems in the beginning, but they actually solved a lot of those already, and they have detection mechanisms to actually avoid those mistakes going forward.
Yes, and they'll be fixing these pretty quickly, I think, because this
Yes.
is of course going to hurt their clients as well. So they want to fix this. They want to make this as secure as possible, and
Yeah.
so they're going to be changing that soon too. Since we're still in the Wild West, it's an important thing to share. Another thing is also data storage. So when you create a landing page and you want to save emails or you want something to bring in that information, you'll need to store that data somewhere. And Lovable does a great job because here you can connect a data storage of whatever you're looking for. They use Supabase. It's essentially a glorified Google Sheets with a lot of different tables, and you can like look at the information. But yeah, that's another very important thing if you want to build something where you're collecting data and saving that data. And then the third is context. So a lot of people are actually sort of figuring or changing the term vibe coding, which is essentially just vibing and typing and trying things, to context coding, which is much more of a, let's take the time to write down what we're looking for, think through all the scenarios, and just have a big prompt that puts all of that information in. What I do often for my first prompt, so when you're creating a new app, a new website, you will type in a first prompt here. I will actually go into ChatGPT and say, hey, I'm going to be creating this app with Lovable. Can you create a prompt for me? And then I will give it information. I'll go back and forth. I'll make sure that as much context is there as possible. And then I will actually go in here and put it in here. That it also includes visualizations. You can include screenshots of websites that you like. You can include even pictures, drawings that you do of, hey, I want them to have columns here and there, and doing different things. And it will actually take those pictures and the drawings and put that in there, give you that
Yes.
aesthetic and those
Yeah, I
colors.
think designers call them wireframes, where you basically just like outline on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Obviously, we do it digitally, but you outline kind of like, I have the navigation bar up here, then I have a picture with text next to it, and then I have something below that. And so it can take that structure and actually convert it into what you're looking for, which is amazing. That's what you were describing, which is super helpful.
Super helpful. Exactly. And most of them also have a lot of examples down below of other people that have posted their own versions. And this could be things with graphs.
Yes.
This can be things with where you actually have places to rent out, and booking your stay. You can set all of this up now through Vibe/context coding. And it's really cool.
No, it's amazing. I think Replit um, has been doing a great job because it's all integrated. So Replit actually does something slightly different, where they were actually the first ones to program in a browser. So they were always kind of like on the edge of like pushing for that, because they believe the browser will kind of become like the OS. And what's cool is in Replit, in my opinion, is everything is built in. So like database is built in, authentication is built in, whatever you need, all the tools are actually built into Replit. So you don't actually need to connect to like a Supabase or like, create like 4 or 5 different accounts. It's all right built into Replit, and they have seen a phenomenal success. Just to say, like, let me share my screen real quick, Nick. Like
Yeah.
there's one chart that's absolutely insane, and I wanted to share that real quick, which is the ARR, so the annual revenue from Replit. Look at this. December 2022, they were at $1 million a year. June 25th at 100 million. So they basically went from 10 million to 100 million,
Wow.
10x within 6 months in 2025. It's absolutely insane, because everybody's jumping into Replit and they're trying to build something, and they're trying to vibe code, and they're trying this out, and they want to learn how this thing works. And so it's just insane to see where the trend is going, and how they almost, I think, shut down, and they had to like lay off some people. And then the AI wave came in, and they were like, hell yeah, we're right in the right spot here.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, and another thing that I think a life hack or a hack here that I've noticed with vibe coding is you can even, because if you put it in your GitHub, you can actually connect it also to Claude Code, Anthropic,
Yes.
or others, and you can actually ask other LLMs to check the code and see if you can clean it up and make it better, and change things as well. So it's really interesting to also sort of jump around and do that. And then at this point, I'm still bringing in actual developers
Yes.
to check the work and make sure that it's correct. Because if you're a developer and you look at the code from one of these vibe coding apps, then it can get pretty messy.
It messy, but honestly, like if I build a marketing website, I don't really care about it. Like, let's be honest. Like, if
Yeah,
I have like a
exactly.
website for my company with 3, 4 pages, I don't really care. It doesn't have to
No.
be like this massively perfect project that can
Yeah.
scale. Like, it's a marketing website. Like, it cannot.
Yeah.
We can't be like, these are like people that basically like they're over critical. They're like, oh, this is like not great. I'm like, it's fine. It works. Like,
Yeah.
we don't have to build a company on this marketing website. We just need a presence on the web on the web, and like we don't want to spend a ton of money for it, and we want to be able to like just talk to it and be like, go update this content or go do this, instead of like having to learn yet another system or having to like figure out how to change the code and all that stuff. You just tell it what to do, and it will actually do it for you. And English becomes just like, or whatever language, actually doesn't matter. You can even do Spanish or Dutch or German, and it will just work. And I think that's the cool part.
Yeah, exactly that. I
That's
think that
awesome.
there's also, yeah, it's a really interesting world that we're going into, and I mean, we're building prototypes. Workflow Studio is building prototypes for various startups. Prototypes that can handle 20 to 100 users, just to be able to show it to clients and show it to potential investors, and to go from there. And we can, then also connect AI automation on the back end,
Yep.
with webhooks, HTTPS requests, everything. So it's really just sort of the front end of all of the automation in the back.
Awesome. I think what we should do is I'm gonna pull in somebody next time. I have an idea for the next episode to do some marketing, vibe marketing. It's like the new thing. So creating social media campaigns and graphics and stuff like that. So I have an idea for next time, little cliffhanger for everybody, but that actually just like popped something in my head. I'm like, we should do this next time and just like do a cool demo about also vibe marketing, and we can do some cool stuff there actually. So stay tuned for that one. Um,
Ooh, I'm surprised too. I can't wait.
Nick, it's been amazing. It's so good to see you. It's been a couple of weeks because of the summer breaks, but it was so good to do this, and we're gonna be back. We're gonna be doing this like monthly now. Again, we you can find us on Spotify, on Apple, all the podcasts platforms. And if you haven't heard of Get Vibey, go check out getvibey.com. And then Nick, Workflow Studio Tech, is that correct? The website
Yeah,
is, can you,
workflowstudio.tech.
workflowstudio.tech. Awesome. Well, Nick, it's been an absolute pleasure, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, JP. It's been great. Cheers.
Awesome. Thank you. Bye, everybody.